Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested in to migrate to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insights. Alright, today's video I would like to discuss in regards to the skills migration assessments, which is the vital part for general skill migration. But over the past few years, we have seen a trend of numbers of visa categories basically throwing or that do not require skill assessment anymore. So is that a trend that they are gonna abandon the requirement of skill assessment? Perhaps, but I think skill assessment is still required for some, perhaps for some occupations, or for people coming from countries not they selected numbers of countries required to go through skill assessment just for the sake of the legislative instruments required for the 482 TSS visa, something that will require skill assessment. But the reason I wanted to do this video is because we have seen the new professionals. There are so many people, I think a lot of people will agree what I'm mentioning. A lot of people, they graduate from one occupation, but then they move on to work in different or similar or sometimes very different occupation or perhaps industries, but they still make a good performance for their employment wise, and that doesn't mean this young skilled talents is not talented. So there has been a debate between what sort of that is why the NSCO occupation list, the so-called skill occupation list, has never really catch up with the trend of professional lists, especially in the tech sector. For example, if we're talking about the AI specialist, artificial specialist, now there's no artificial specialist within NSCO now, and within AI specs, there are so many different specialists just within the artificial intelligence alone. Now, how are they gonna categorize and how are they gonna assess all this different kind of niche professionals? So that's a problem, and that has caused the skill assessing authority prolong time and delaying on skill assessing process, as we have seen recently. Now, the other reason I wanted to talk about this topic is also we've seen the processing time delay caused by the TRA, Trade Recognition Australia. They're taking forever to do their skill assessments, although they have a standards put it out there, but they do have something saying at the top that the is experiencing high number applicant. Well, they had this sentence right up here, or they have a similar stuff or notification during COVID time. Now it's 2024. I don't think that should be a case anymore, and I don't know why it's taking so long. They are prolonging beyond the average processing time. That's the reason. That's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about the skill assessment as well. And also, we notice on numbers of recommendations being coined out or provided, for example, from Grattan Institutes. They are looking to abandon or abolish the requirement of professional year, so-called. So a lot of people, if you study ICT or engineers or accountants, only these three categories of occupations can access to professional years. What about all other occupations out there? For example, nurses or health professionals, any other type of economists. What about the graphic designers? They can't access to professional year. So there's a talk on abolishing professional year. Now, abolishing professional year will also cause the changes in skill assessment. For example, traditionally, if you study accounting, you graduate from accounting, you enroll into a professional year, you study it for another year, then you get what, full skill assessments. So as for engineers, and so as for the ICT professionals. So if they abolish professional years, that will mean some of these occupations might not pass skill assessment just solely on completing the courses, and they need to go out and seek for the real job. Now the question here is, especially in the realm of ICT, you may graduate as a network specialist, but you probably work in a data analysis in big data, which is connected to network as well, but you solely focus on data analysis. Now in that way, you probably won't pass skill assessment as well. It really depends on the description of your job. So that causes a lot of problem as well. And we also seeing the trend, for example, on the employment sponsor visa, 482, if you, for most of the country or passport holders, apart from China, Hong Kong, India, Pakistan, Zimbabwe, and South Africa, and some other I can't recall all of them, but these countries require to go through skill assessment for numbers of, and these occupations are usually trades. Okay, for example, cook, chef, carpentry, mechanics and all that. But if you have graduated from a higher education, now that means around the world, globally, internationally, that not just having in Australia, and that you have work experiences in the field, then you don't need to go through skill assessment anymore. So there's a trend going on this one here. And also we have also seen the drop of the work requirements, and also the recommendation from the Grattan Institute also talks about they want to focus more on how the performance of your work experiences, for example, rating on the incomes thresholds, the income levels that you actually be employed with, to count out to count in the points of talents that you should actually have, rather than solely going into a skill assessment. Because there's a fact that people without skill assessment, they can still get a very good job, and if they get high pay, you don't want this kind of talent to come to Australia. So I think there's a potential way that skill assessment will not be as mandatory or compulsory in the future. So the ratio dropping from the need to have a skill set and the English proficiency level will come down, and English proficiency level will pull up in the balance of the future skill migration there. However, by saying that, I do believe skill assessment is still required. For example, as I had mentioned, for the trades occupations, especially the skill that you have equipped or learned is overseas, where Australia, which is not international standardized. For example, you are you specialize in Indian gourmet foods preparations, or you are specializing in the Japanese cuisines, or Asian cuisines, or Latin American cuisines, or something like that. Obviously, in Australia, they don't teach that, but you have that kind of skill and require to go through assessment. So those are kind of stuff that will still require assessment. However, I believe a lot of occupation above higher education qualifications should not really go through skill assessment, because these kind of professions or academic background is actually very, very international standardized. There's no need. For example, if you graduate from San Francisco, whichever the university that you have been to, and study in whichever the tech, engineer, or ICT, why would you still be assessed against the standards upon what the Australia actually recognized? I don't think that's required. For example, I've seen going vice versa, if USA in Silicon Valley requires a tech high tech professional coming from Australia, do they still assess their background if they already graduate from Australia with a ICT or engineering background? I don't think it's actually required. So why would skill assessment still needed? Especially there's no points counting towards a skill assessment. So that's where I'm staying here and wanted to share with you, and perhaps that will be the trend, as we have already seen numbers of categories of visas is abandoning the requirement of skill assessments. Anyway, should you have more question or query, more than welcome to leave a comment right down below, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.